Hi everybody, we're here at Manorama Hortus with Rodrigo Blanco, who is a Venezuelan writer who has written various books that have won various awards, including the O. Henry Short Story Prize in the US. His latest book is Simpatía, which is about the unrest in Venezuela through the perspective of a young man who starts a shelter for stray dogs and abandoned dogs in the country. Saving dogs for Rodrigo's protagonist becomes a conduit for saving himself and finding redemption. Rodrigo, you cannot miss the irony that in your book, a man is trying to save dogs while his country is going to the dogs literally. So, was that a metaphor that you had in mind while writing the book?
Yes, Simpatía is a novel who talks about a man who has a mission that to create like a dog shelter for abandoned dogs. And he have like 3 or 4 months to achieve that mission. But then he realized there's a lot of people that don't want him to succeed, and that reveals like a plot, a hidden plot of corruption and violence, who is set in Venezuela in the current years. I think it's a metaphor of what's had been living the Venezuelan during the Chavez regime.
And how you juxtapose the personal with the political? How did you do? Was it difficult to set the story of your protagonist within the larger story of Venezuelan upheaval, unrest?
I think in the case of my novels and some short stories, the political situation, the political injustice is always the trigger
Okay.
for write a story. But that's only at the beginning. Then I have to discover what are the thing that drives my characters, what's the relationship between them, what's this story I'm writing is about, no?
Okay.
And then I forgot the political plot and I left it in like in the backyard. And I think it's a good thing because I don't like to use the literature as a way to convince the reader of my political views.
Right. Can you tell me a little about you were talking in the session how you were when you were growing up in Venezuela, the situation then, and how that time compared to now, a little bit about your experience in the country, related to the political situation there also.
Well, I think I had the privilege to enter at the university when I was 17 and was in the same time that Hugo Chávez won his first election. And I could witness from the very first hand how the country and the society was changing, and how was the political speech polarizing the society, no?
Right.
And it's a very different country where I lived when I was a boy, an adolescent, and a teenager, and when I was a young man, an adult, no? But also I realized that my country have really important issues that explain how we became a failed state.
Okay, right. What are the lived experience, like little things that as under Hugo Chavez, the ways in which life changed, like the could be your friendships or your how the ways in
Yes.
which life changed.
Well, when I was in the university in the year 2002 or three, it
Right.
was one of the most difficult years in the battle between Chavism and opposition. Suddenly, as I wasn't support Hugo Chavez, I was left aside by my friends because they radicalized, became really radicals in the supporting of the government. And that happened to me with my friends in the university, happens between the members of a family, between a husband and wife. It's what happens when the politics is used not to solve the society's problem, but to separate the society, to feed the violence, and that's what I most recall from those days, those years. It was really hard to live there because one sign is that you talks about politics
Yeah.
every single day, 24 hours.
Oh,
When that happens to a country,
yeah.
you know that things isn't right.
Right. And you mentioned references to India in your book. I was listening to the. And did you have any preconceived notions about our country before coming here? And did it live up to what you thought it would be like when you came here?
No,
What were your preconceived notions about India? What did you think about
well,
India
India, for I think for all the Western people is like 3 or 4 pictures that not capture the complexity of this country. No, we thought about all this mystic Orientalist aspect of the culture, the yoga, the Buddhism, the poverty,
Yeah.
and but there's always a lot of other things that you find once you're here. But for me, this is a first visit and a really short visit in a environment really beautiful, and I only have the time to talk with certain people,
Yeah.
and with these small talks,
Yeah.
I think I learned more about India than all the books that I've been reading about India. So it's the daily life that gives you an inner view of how is India, not only for a stranger, but also for the Indian people. Because one thing that struck me is that for you is also strange to visit another state or another region because of the language barriers.
Yeah.
So that's an impression that I will take with me when I get back.
Right. From the short time you were here, do you find any similarities between your country and our country?
Yes, there's a lot of chaos that feels
Yeah.
like home. There's a lot of traffic. There's also a way of the people that very close, with beautiful smiles and very gentle. And that reminds me and the best part of my country.
And you also teach creative writing, right? You've taught creative writing. What is the one cardinal rule in writing that you say, you tell your students, this, you have to follow this rule? This is the one thing in writing that you have to keep in mind.
Well, it's difficult to name just one rule, but I always say that you cannot be a good writer if you are not a good reader.
Yeah, you said that.
And what it means to be a good reader is someone who reads every single day, the most part of the day, trying to absorb, to learn the lesson from the masters. But you have to choose which are the master for you. You cannot choose the master for someone different than you.
Right. Last question. You talked about detective fiction and how you loved the works of people like Agatha Christie and
Yeah.
Arthur Conan Doyle. Then from there you turned to more literary kind of writing. So how did that shift happen? And also, is it your influence of detective fiction that makes you write suspense and so many twists in your stories? Is that the influence of the detective fiction you read as a child? I mean, as growing up?
Now you said it's clear to me because it's true that I think I became a writer partly because I read tons of detective novels like the ones of Agatha Christie or Dashiell Hammett or Arthur Conan Doyle. But it's a kind of books that I never revisited from those days on. No? But it's true that I try to keep the intrigue in my novels. And I think it's because I read when I was a teenager these detective novels. I think every story doesn't have to be a detective story to contain an intrigue that appeals the interest of the reader.
Thank you so much, Rodrigo.
Thank
That
you.
is really nice, and wish you all the best with
Thank you so much.
everything. Thank you.
Thank you.